Welcome back to the podcast. My guest today is Triston Chaney. He grew up in Dillingham. Thanks for being on here, Triston.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me on here.
You grew up in Dillingham, grew up fishing more on the subsistence end. So can you tell me a little bit about what your childhood was like growing up in Dillingham?
Yeah, definitely. It consisted of a lot of fish eating, and then summertime. About this time actually. From now until we start commercial fishing in end of June is subsistence fishing for kings. So we just got the lines out 2 days ago, and we're waiting for the right wind to set up the king nets. But we're all getting antsy to get the first couple kings on the cutting board and start eating them.
Nice.
But so it was a lot of subsistence about now, and then from end of June, so about June 20th to July 25th was commercial fishing, and that's all sockeye.
Mm-hmm. Do you have like a first fishing memory?
Man, I got one when I was for sure young, fly fishing on the Nishigack for grayling. And that was, I don't know, must have been middle school maybe. And we just fished for maybe an hour. It was me and my dad. And we were dry fly fishing for grayling. For some reason, grayling just get me going, man. I mean, I love grayling. I love grayling a lot. And then one of my favorite memories is fishing with my best friend Caden. We do a lot of fishing on the Wood River system, and it's a lot of, like, right now it's swinging smolt and whatnot, and nymphs and dry flies here once the bugs start hatching a little more. But I mean, it's always a blast with him. He's really fishy, and together we put a lot of fish on the board.
Mm-hmm. I grew up in Southeast on Prince of Wales Island, and my first memory is riding home from the river on my Huffy bicycle. And it's probably like a montage of multiple memories, but I remember having a fish swinging from each handlebar and just feeling like I was the coolest person ever. Like I was able to go to the river with my brother and catch the fish and come home with it. I'm sure I'd caught fish before that, but that's like the first memory of, man, I'm bringing home salmon. I got silver salmon coming home in the handlebars, and man, what a life, what an existence.
Hell yeah, that's badass, man. No other feeling than the feeling of providing,
Yeah.
Always feels good being able to bring fish home. That's how I feel like most of my fishing memories are. They're a montage. Like when I think about, I got my grandpa's boat, and it's old Lund. You can tell he's painted it before. The paint's all chipped up, and he's got an old Mariner motor on it. It looks like it's grown. It's got moss growing on it and shit. But it's old carbureted one. So if you don't have that choke just perfect when you first cold start it, man, it's not going to start. And we've got a lot of trips where we forgot that, and so we're just cranking on it. There was one for sure. It was 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and we're duck hunting, and we're cold, and we weren't cold after we were cranking on it for that long. And been stuck in the lake because it was so nice out, and we're like, oh, let's just stop here and relax. And then we couldn't get the boat go, or the motor started, so we're like, oh my god, get the oars out. But yeah, it's always a good time, man.
Did you always love fishing, or was there a time when, because I remember growing up fishing, loved fishing, going to the river, but then when I got to middle school and high school, basketball was kind of the main, I guess, source of my identity. And I still fished here and there, but basketball is kind of the number one. Did you fish relentlessly throughout, or did you, grew up in Dillingham, I'm sure you played basketball.
Yeah, definitely basketball and wrestling, but we fished pretty relentlessly too. Throughout. So it was, my dad got us, me and my brother, fly rods when we were like 3 or 4. And so I did some fly fishing when I was that young. And then I kind of put it down until high school, where, and we fished through elementary through middle school, but it was like mainly with spinners, spinners and conventional tackle. And then there was one day where me and Caden, my best friend, were fishing, and we couldn't catch a damn fish. We tried every, spinner and spoon and whatnot in our tackle box. And we were just watching these fish just come up and sip on the surface. You could see them just, it was a really calm day, and there's caddis hatching. And I was like, God, I really want to catch one of those fish, And so I was thinking, we're floating down. I was like, oh, I got a fly rod, I'm going to try this out. And, when you first start fly fishing, everybody's gone through the phase where you go fly fishing, and it's more like throwing rope, you're just like throwing the fly out there, and it just coils up right in front of you, and the fly lands right next to the boat, and you're like, okay, well, this is going to work. But with grayling, you could troll the dry fly and you'll catch grayling, you know. So they didn't care that, you know, we were casting 5 feet off the boat. And that was actually a lot more productive than throwing spinners and spoons and whatnot. And that's what got me back into fly fishing was that day was, you know, catching those grayling and there's rainbows too on those dry fly. And then after that it was just, you know, it's like a slippery slope. Then you start getting into every other fly fishing method there is, and really fine tuning your skills.
Yeah. So how did that change after you said you went to college at University of Alaska Southeast down here in Juneau? So when you go back as an adult, like what had kind of changed? Did you notice that there was kind of a difference? Maybe you were more, I guess, in tune to the future of the resource, or how did your perception of fishing and living in Dillingham change as a young adult?
After going to college and coming back to Dillingham, I did the 2-year tech program on like diesel technology and whatnot, and welding and refrigeration down there. So coming back, you know, my life was a little more prioritized towards commercial fishing. So getting the boat squared away, getting our commercial fishing boat squared away, and whatnot was kind of more of a priority. But in the free time when I was down there was when I was doing some more fishing and whatnot. And fly fishing's always been fly fishing to me. The one thing that that really drew me towards fly fishing, and what I still really was my main attraction to fly fishing today, is casting. I really got into casting, and like I just wanted to hook. If I'm fly fishing somewhere where I can't just bomb it as far as I can, at least every once in a while, I don't know, it's just not as interesting, because being able to like cast and put your cast where you want it and cast in the nasty conditions, it feels good to be able to do that. But then you also got to realize you're out there to catch, you know, you ain't out there just to look pretty fishing.
Yeah. So how's the fishing changed since you've grown up, or has it changed? I know in Southeast there are some people who they commercial fish, but if they were 15 now, they wouldn't want to grow up fishing because in 20 years it may have changed. And obviously in Pebble Mine is this reoccurring problem that might be happening up there. But is the fishing still really, really good? I know the sockeye runs have been pretty good traditionally, but how is this for a long-term venture?
Man, it's great, honestly. And the fishing definitely has changed. I mean, you definitely notice changes. You can't really say if they're for better or for worse. You know, like back when I was in middle school, elementary school, kind of ended around high school, I guess, for me. But we used to just get whopper kings, and a lot of them. I mean, just huge kings. You know, we'd set out the net, and as we're dragging it off the mud into the water, you'd just see tails hit and tails splashing, and king splash hard, you know, so you know it's a king. And as of now, there's just not as many, and they're not as big, it seems like. We're still getting enough for the smokehouse, which is, you know, really what matters. And in terms of sockeye, we're getting a lot more sockeye. I mean, sockeye runs are just crazy. I mean, just plugging the rivers. And that started about high school. Right after high school, we started getting these huge runs of sockeye. And that's been great. And as far as, I guess, non-anadromous fish, and anadromous on this note, the sea run dollies kind of petered out. We used to get a lot of sea run dollies. You know, they just look like snakes, you know, long fins and whatnot. And I really like sea run dollies. We're just not catching as many of them out in the bay, because we catch a lot of them while we're gill netting. And we're not seeing as many of them in the rivers. We're seeing a lot of non-anadromous dollies, that, you know, the lake dollies and whatnot. We're seeing a lot of those, but no sea runs. And the rainbows seem to have come in force more. They have seemed to grow in population. It used to be back in the day in high school and middle school, there used to be, I mean, the dollies just ruled the rivers. I mean, you catch dollies, not even trying to catch dollies. Nowadays it's a pretty good mix of rainbows and dollies. And the grayling have always been, I mean, really consistent. I mean, there's always just grayling in there, just ready to get caught. Mm-hmm. But as in terms of fish catching, I mean, you could still go out there and catch fish. It's still good up here.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because I haven't been alive for 60 years, so you know you can't look back and say, you know, dozens and dozens of years or generations. So it's hard to kind of look at, you know, the last 20 years and make a huge determination. I think I've noticed that like the coho runs have just been really, really good. But going to my home river, it seems like there's fewer dollies, seems like there's fewer cutthroats, and you just don't know if that's like the ebb and flow and if they're going to come back or what that is. But yeah, the smaller king thing is something that we've noticed down here too. Sometimes the numbers are good, sometimes not as much, and we have a lot more of the salmon enhancement program hatchery kings around here. That's the only king salmon fishery that's open right now. Is just a small little area where it's terminal, and then everything will open up on the 15th. But yeah, I keep hearing about like sockeye is still pretty solid down here, but up there it just seems like it's for whatever reason the kings are going who knows where. But man, the sockeye, you just keep hearing about those huge runs.
They're doing incredibly well. Hopefully the Kings bounce back. That's like what you're saying. You just don't know if it's the ebb and the flow, and you hope it is because I mean, we love our king salmon. Sock guys are good, but fuck, king salmon take the steak there. But yeah, what's funny is I got a couple buddies down in Sand Point, Alaska, and they've started catching sea run cuts and steelhead down there, which I think is pretty cool. And they'll send me pictures like, "Oh, what is this? What is this?" And at first, I did double take, and I was like, I don't know, you're in Sand Point, that's not really known for having sea run cuts and steelhead down there, but they're starting to get them down there, so I think that's kind of cool. It's just changing times. It's always changing. It seems like with fish, they're just swimming around out there, exploring new places just like us.
Yeah. So you say is your preferred fish to eat the king, or is it the sockeye? Down here, some people it's hard for them to like love the king. That's like one, and then sockeye is kind of like a 1B, or like they're almost tied in some areas, and some people prefer sockeye. What's your preferred eating fish?
King salmon, definitely. It's just more versatile. You can get smoked fish, you can get steaks, fillets, different ways to cook it. It's more fatty, a little more flavor. Sockeye are really good dried too. They're just not as oily. But I mean, like a sockeye fillet with rice and corn and ketchup is hard to beat. You can't forget about the humpies, though. I don't know. Silver salmon are good, but my girlfriend cooked a humpy out on the commercial fishing boat when I was fishing with her and her dad 2 years ago, and she I was like a fried humpy. It was like you looked like she was cooking chicken, and I swear to God, it was phenomenal. It was so good. It almost made me want to start catching humpies and putting them up because I don't know, it blew my mind, honestly. So we can't forget about the underdogs in here, but king salmon definitely. I mean, they're just too good of a fish to not say it's my favorite.
I've had some friends who like humpies if it's handled correctly is a pretty mild fish. Same thing with chum salmon. Some people really like chum because it's super mild, and even though it doesn't look good, like you're not eating the outer skin, which looks gothic and gross. Like it's a good mild flavored fish, and smoking it's really good too. And I guess if you're on a commercial fishing boat and you're super hungry, a humpy could probably taste really, really good. But and then of course, no matter how you cook it, if it's fresh, then you're in good shape. If you're buying it at a Safeway in Missouri, then it's probably not going to be very good.
Things might be a little different. Yeah. Fresh fish is the best fish.
Yeah. What about dolly? Do you have dolly very often?
Yeah, I've had it a couple times. It's pretty fishy. We got salmon up here, so it's not. I don't know. We'll always pick a salmon over dolly. But it's not bad. I mean, I'll eat anything, and dolly is no exception. But I've eaten just about everything except for steelhead, and I've had our couple rainbow around here. I try not to eat rainbow though. They're pretty and they grow pretty slow.
Yeah,
and they're a sports fishing fish too. We want to keep them around, so.
Yeah.
I don't eat those. Grayling, I will eat the piss out of, man. Those are good. Those are, oh my God. White meat, just salt and pepper, onion if you have it, man. Yeah. Those are always good.
So tell me about this Bristol Bay. What's the guiding thing that I had it written down here? Yeah, the Guide Academy.
Yeah, so it's it was started by a couple people, Nancy Lyon being one of them. She's my boss. She owns Bear Trail Lodge. And basically what it is, it's a program to get local young adults and kids into kind of get their foot into the guiding industry, because the guiding industry can be very lucrative. It could open up a lot of opportunities, and so what it is just to try to get local kids who historically haven't really, and young adults who historically haven't really gotten into the industry enforced to try to get them into the industry, and make some money in this industry, and kind of show their talent. Because growing up in the area, you're going to learn how to fish, you're going to learn how to catch fish, you're going to learn the weather, you're going to learn, I mean, all kinds of stuff, that's very pertinent to if you're going to be guiding in this area. So just growing up here, you kind of have a head start. But if you're not, in this industry, it's not wasted talent, but it's talent that could be used in the industry. And so, I mean, it's just a week long academy where we kind of show you all the basics to fly fishing, and some basics into getting into the guiding industry, and what to expect, what to do, how to put your rod together, how to tie on a fly, how to tie flies, which is really cool, and fly casting. So it's kind of all around general, get your foot in the door kind of deal. And then, Nancy knows a lot of people, so you get some opportunity to get a job, if you're up to snuff. Mm-hmm. And it's great. It's great seeing, a lot of the, it's great seeing the kids come in and have a blast there at the camp, learn something new. Most of them don't fly fish. They maybe have a bass pro, but they don't really use it, don't really know how to use it. So, I mean, everybody's got a spinner, everybody's got a spoon. Yeah, so old reliable. But to get them into fly fishing is pretty neat, showing them different ways to catch fish and showing them that it's effective done correct.
Yeah. How has your attitude towards people coming up to fish changed? I know when I was a kid and I'd go to the river and you'd see inevitably a couple people who had brand new waders and they're from down south and, just kind of disrespectful. And then I just wanted the river to myself, because I'm 12 years old. Like, this is my river. You're from wherever you're from. But after a while, you start to see, oh, this is a good economic opportunity. It's bringing some money in, and it's fine. I can just find a different part of the river that there's no trail to. Were you kind of protective of the home waters and kind of anti-traveling angler, or have you always been kind of open to it?
Honestly, I never really experienced or interacted with guides, because all our fishing we do pre-June 20th, so there's not really any guiding going on that early. So kind of early on, we get the water to ourselves, basically. I mean, we're fishing, there's other locals out there, but there isn't any lodges. And then I'm commercial fishing throughout July, and then when we get the boat put away and get everything squared away, ready for winter, commercial fishing wise, then we go fishing kind of through August, early August and whatnot. And the water that we fished, it's not like the Kenai, or it's not like kind of those rivers where there's only one river to fish, or there's very specific spots to fish. Fishing up here, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity, creek wise, river wise, lake wise, and so we never really ran into heavily pressured water that often. There was a couple times in some spots, in some of the well-known good spots where we'd run into people and guides and whatnot. But you learn some tricks, growing up in your home, or where you grew up. So we always had some ways to pull out some fish where it had already been fished by guides and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And never really had any negative experiences with them, other than they got to drive by us, to get past us in smaller rivers. So, and that ain't that big of a deal. But very fortunate in that aspect, where we always had a lot of space to fish and catch fish and have some fun.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. So
it does.
When did you go to the guide school, and why'd you decide to go?
I did it in 2018, 2019. It was because, I mean, we were fishing a lot, and we loved it. Me and my best friend I'm talking about, Caden, and we were fishing a lot, before commercial fishing, after commercial fishing, and it was something that we were really getting into, and the Guide Academy got brought up, and didn't really know much about it, and it kind of interested us, so we went and did it. And I did it in the first year. It was at Nancy's Lodge there in King Salmon. And going there and experiencing Bristol Bay fishing, but on the other side of the bay, it was great. It was really eye-opening. It's different fishing over there on the east side than it is on the west side. It's there's bigger fish, there's more water, there's a lot of fish still. And going to the guide academy and kind of understanding like, okay, this is what a guide does, is literally just go to all these cool places, experience all these places, and then you get to meet people all along the way. You know, you get to meet cool guides, you get to meet cool people, clients and whatnot, and it kind of just broadens your horizons. And I really loved it. So after my second year at the Guide Academy, I took Nancy up on a job offer. And Doc Boyd. So I'd only, since I was going to school, I Doc Boyd slash fly out guided my first 2 years. And that was August. And then starting 3 years ago, I started doing August through October. And really, really glad I did it. And, you know, I really do love guiding, and I love fishing, and I love just being outside and bullshitting with people. So it really was up my alley. Yeah. And I like to say I do a pretty good job at it.
What's the best part of being a guide?
The guide deals, gear deals. I know that's a good perk. I'd enjoy the experiences, you know, and the people you meet. Working at Bear Trail Lodge, it's a fancy lodge, so there's a lot of successful, you know, a lot of wealthy people that go there, and just kind of being able to pick their brains on, you know, how they're so successful and how they got to where they're at. You know, kind of pulling it away from even the fishing aspect is just talking about what they do, you know, and because they're not all prissy snobs, you know. There's a lot of good people who've made their money, you know, in a respectful manner, and you know they put in the work to make their money. That come up to Alaska to go fishing, and we're fortunate we get a lot of return clients, you know. So it's a lot of people that we've seen before, and we see every year. So it's great, you know, being able to come back and see them and fish with them and catch up on how their winter was. But I'd say the experiences. I really do love the experiences and experience you get from guiding.
Mm-hmm. They say that, and I experienced this as a high school teacher, that it's not until year 4 and 5 that you really start to settle in and be a teacher. Because like your first year, you're just kind of like treading water. Second year, you're starting to figure stuff out. And then by 4 and 5, you're really starting to refine stuff. So what is, as a guide, what have things that, or what are some things that you've learned, and how have you improved in your first couple of years?
Definitely, like listening to the more experienced guides and whatnot, people who've been fishing there for longer, you know, because coming from Dillingham over there, you know, I've fished a lot. And so, you know, I wasn't necessarily stuck in my ways, but I like to fish how I like to fish. And that's not always the most productive way, you know. Even though I'm having more fun doing it, that's not always the most productive way. So kind of, you know, just being able to listen, keep an open mind, and realize, you know, kind of like learn your clients. You know, some clients are out there for the experience. Some clients are out there to just catch fish. Some clients are out there to, you know, just the all around experience. So kind of just being able to, you know, read the room and see what your clients want. But I'd say just learning the intricacies of people. You know, that's what I've really tried to work on, you know, just kind of take the fishing aspect, but then kind of cater it to who we're fishing with.
Mm-hmm. What's one of the like best memories or something like that? Is there anything that sticks out in your mind as like, man, I'm so glad I'm doing this as part of my life. Like this is it. This is exactly what I wanted to be as far as happiness goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got a lot there. There's a lot of good memories from guiding. Just the camaraderie. At Bear Trail, we've got a lot of young guides there around my age, and so we have had our fair share of fun times just around the guide shack and you know, after the guide day is done and in the mornings. But in terms of fishing, I mean, I have had stellar days out there, numbers wise, stellar days out there size wise, and stellar days out there experience wise. And I'd say probably my best memories are, you know, the big fish always takes the cake because people love a big fish, especially when they're going to a place where there's big fish and they want a big fish. And then there's some people who want numbers. And so those memories always stick where you just put in a lot of numbers. But I'd say my favorite memories and my favorite experiences are bear encounters. Because it is strange how on the east side, I'm talking Naknek side and whatnot, how bears act differently over there. They do not give a fuck about you. I mean, you could let them walk 10 feet away from you,
and they just won't care. They're focused on fishing. They are not scared of you. They give you a little side eye. They got them beady little eyes that are freaky. But I mean, there's just so many over there, and they don't care about you. And it's still strange to me. And I carry a pistol for the off chance that they do, think we're lunch or something. But I mean, getting close to a bear on the east side is pretty normal on most of the flyout rivers. It's strange, and it's just kind of the clients. I don't know. Some hate it, some love it, some don't care. But for the most part, they're like, "Whoa, there's a bear right there." There's a bear right there. Okay. There's also 10 around us I could see. That's just the closest. Just keep your cool. Don't run. Don't start screaming or nothing. It'll pass or whatever, and you get pushed around by them. You just got to, they're a bear. Give them the right away, and you'll be fine.
So obviously your clients are going to be looking to you for direction. Are there times when you're just like, oh my gosh, this is not good, but I have to remain calm because my clients can't freak out. So how do you do you have nerves of steel, or are you good at faking it, or how do you respond to encounters that may be a little bit closer than you'd like?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I just got a pistol. I mean, they can get pretty damn close, and I'm still pretty confident that I could put one down if I need to. If I didn't have a pistol, I would not have that confidence. That goes, bear spray. We'll never trust bear spray. I gotta have a pistol, and as long as I got my pistol, I mean, I'm gonna be pretty confident that bear could, keep walking our way, and we could just scoot off to the side and let it pass, and we won't be in any danger. But I'd say, yeah, it just has to do something with that firearm. Mm-hmm. Without it, you feel naked in bear country.
What kind of pistol is it?
I got a Sig Sauer P320 X10. It's a 10 millimeter P320, and I like it a lot. Done a lot of shooting with it. I've put a red dot on it, and then I got a flashlight on it for when I'm not guiding and just kind of carrying it around. Mm-hmm. I really do like it. Bullets are expensive though. Oh my goodness. Be prepared to not have any money shooting a 10 mil.
Yeah, it's nice to have those. I was talking with some buddies because we don't have we have some brown bears around here, but they're not on a lot of the rivers that we fish. So it's nice to not have to worry about that dynamic. Exactly. But when I did get one for bear protection, it was a 10 mm, and it was just that you have more shots, and it's something that you can handle a lot more than one of those cannons that you're going to be recovering from the first shot as you then try to line up the second one.
Capacity is king, man. There's nothing beats 15 rounds in a mag, and then you could put in another mag and you have 15 more rounds. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I talk about bears so much about the east side is because anywhere else you go around here, as soon as a bear hears your boat, it's running away from you. It does not want anything to do with you. But over there, they're just so used to people. It's different.
Mm-hmm. Are there times when, I know later in the year when they're really trying to pack on weight, and if the berries haven't really been around, or if the salmon run isn't super strong, they can get a little bit maybe more ornery or a little bit more confrontational. Have you had any experiences like that?
Yeah, definitely. So what we see a lot is later on in the year, I guess especially in Brooks, because we go to Brooks a lot. So I'll just use that river for example. So like July, August, they're at the falls. Those fish are actively jumping up the falls. Those bears are actively getting the fish at the falls. They don't have to move. The fish are coming to them. Later on, September, October, when those fish aren't jumping up the falls and they're spawning in the rivers, they're not moving up the river. They're stationary, spawning. Those bears, then the bears in turn have to start moving. So they'll patrol up and down the river. And when you're fishing, that makes it kind of difficult. They have this 50-yard rule where if you're fishing and the bear pops out 50 yards from you and it's actively in the water, fishing, hunting, and whatnot, you have to remove yourself out of the 50-yard vicinity and kind of let the bear do its thing until, it's far enough away to fish. So that makes it difficult trying to fish, when those bears are moving up and down the river all day, every day. And one thing we notice a lot is like the hierarchy. So like the big bears, they're the king in the rivers. They could stay in one spot all day and not move, and they'll just they'll see a fish floating by, they'll jump in, they'll grab it, they'll eat it. The small bears are the ones kind of that have to actively move all around and they have to pick wisely and take what they can get. So the young bears and the smaller bears are the ones we have problems with more often than not, because they're moving, they're hungry. They see a fish on the end of your rod and they want a bite to eat, so they're going to chase after it. And then you have to break it off, because you can't be within 50 yards of a bear, and then you got to move into the grass, and you got to pull your clients back, but then your client can't move very fast, so you got to help your client back, and then you got to break off the fish because they couldn't break off the fish, and then you got a second client you got to worry about. It's always exciting late season. And what's nice is, though, the big bears, since they do have their spots, they keep the small bears away for the most part if you're fishing by a big bear. So it's always nice to see the big ones roll out and plop down to the river, because you're kind of safe for a bit.
When you talk about the brooks and the falls, is that iconic part of the river that has the platform and a lot more of the human traffic?
Yep, definitely. And human traffic actually, well, I guess I shouldn't say it's not very bad, because human traffic, tourist wise, not bad. You don't get bothered by them in the river, because they stick to the trails leading up to the platform and back to the main camp. But there is a lot of guide pressure at Brooks. There's a lot of guide pressure there, especially in August and September.
Mm-hmm. There's a little bit more infrastructure there too, right? But that's still like you're not driving to that. That's still a flight from Anchorage, and that's like flying to Dillingham or flying to King Salmon to come up there, or is there a separate strip in there?
Yep. And so there is a lot of float plane charters from Homer and Anchorage that come out to Brooks. They got like an hour or two flight. And then all the lodges around the area. They'll fly in float plane to Brooks also, and go and sightsee and go fish it.
Hmm. What type of fly fishing rig are you? If someone were to come up, what would you recommend for maybe early season versus late season, or is it about the same?
Man, it just depends where you're going to fish. I'll use Naknek for an example. I mean, if you're going to fish Naknek early from the opener, you always got to be prepared for them high 20s, 30-inch fish. You've always got a shot at those large rainbow trout over on the Naknek side. So at least a 7 weight. And especially just for bug fishing, I mean, you could fish whatever, 5 weight. I'd probably say is the lightest, 5 or 6 weight. You're gonna get ripped to shreds if you hook something, decent. But it's just dainty bug fishing, which is fun. It's more about the feeling than. But any other type of fishing, if you're throwing streamers at all, I'd at least go 7 weight, 7 weight up, 7, 8, 9 weight for single hand. And then if you're spay fishing, do anything from a 6. I'd probably start at a 7 weight also too. Actually, 7 weight, 8 weight, 9 weight spay rod, whatever you like. Switch or spay. Make sure it's the right weight. Make sure you got the right line for it. And then we got flies up here for you, but make sure it's a 7 or 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm. Tips, sink tips, floating, light.
Yeah, you gotta have it all. I mean, really. I mean, if you're going to a lodge, you don't have to worry about it, because we'll have you set up. But if you're coming up for yourself, you got to make sure you have it all. And at least have some experience, because you gotta be able to read the water and think, okay, this is what I'm gonna fish, or at least know how you're gonna fish. How you're gonna fish this certain fly, this streamer. Okay, it's unweighted, so I'm gonna throw a heavier sink tip. Or if you got a big fat Dalai Lama, I'm gonna chuck this on a one-handed, because I don't want to imagine casting this on a spay rod. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, just make sure you got your bugs, you got your beads, you got your streamers.
What would be like your top 3, like just all purpose? If you could only bring 3 flies to that area, what would they be?
Bead, black and white Dalai Lama. I like grayling, so I'd say like an elk-haired caddis, size 12 elk-haired caddis, and make sure you got a hare's ear. But for sure, black and white Dalai Lama, because you can never go wrong with black, and a bead. I mean, you can fish a bead year round. They don't care. They'll eat it.
So that'll give you all your fish, and then if you just want to play a small ball for the grayling, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's a dainty fish. That's prissy. That's like TIG welding instead of stick welding. You're just making it look pretty, and you're.
That's the fun thing about it. It's hard to compare everything. Like you can catch a trout that's almost the size of the bait you would use trolling for king salmon, but it's just such a different experience seeing something come up to take it on the surface. Like trolling is a lot of fun. Swinging flies is a lot of fun, but man, seeing that fish come up, even if it is only 12 inches, that's a whole different experience.
Yeah, definitely. Fishing for steelhead down southeast, especially out of Juneau, that's difficult. But the sea run cuts and dollies, even though they're smaller, they're fucking blast. You figure them out. You find a fly they want, or you find where they're at. You go down there with your 4-weight. It's like, holy shit, I got a steelhead on. Nope, just fucking you're on cutthroat.
Yeah.
Still is fun though.
So how close is the proposed Pebble Mine to the area that you're at?
I can't remember how far exactly in miles, but what it boils down to is it's at the headwaters of the rivers that flow right past Dillingham. So basically, if you took Dillingham and you took Anchorage and then you went like right in the middle, just north of Iliamna Lake. If you look at Iliamna Lake, you just go north of that. That's where it's going to be. And what happens is the Nushagak comes from the Nushagak headwaters are straight north of Iliamna. I mean, they flow all the way from up there down and come out the Nushagak. And that Iliamna watershed, it's right there. I mean, it's right above Iliamna. So that in turn is the groundwater is going to go to Iliamna and it's going to go to Nushagak. So it's going to slaughter both watersheds in the same time. If it does go in, but it won't because we're gonna keep fighting. Nice. But and so that's what it comes down to. I mean, it's no bueno either way because it's at the very top of the system. This ain't in the middle. This ain't only gonna it's not like a dam where it only dams up. It's right in the middle. This is at the very top. This is at the very 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 top, most critical point.
A lot of rural communities, same thing in Klawock with, logging goes out. So you don't have that. You don't have a lot of industry. You don't have a lot of things for if people want to stay in Klawock after they graduate high school. There's not a whole lot of economic opportunities. So Klawock is starting to get some cruise ships in, which some people don't like because they think they're selling their soul. I live in Ketchikan and, we had probably 10,000 people. We doubled our population today with cruise ship traffic. But like with that, there's really nothing else to do. So that is way different because you're talking about the absolute wholesale destruction of these rivers. But do you know of people who are saying, hey, there's really nothing else for the economy? There's nothing else for people to really do around here. So do you know people who are advocating it in that area?
Yeah, just the lazy motherfuckers that don't want to work. I mean, there's plenty. See, we get a lot of people who come out here. Like I'm talking more outsiders, but that come in and they don't enjoy the area. They don't like Dillingham. Perfect. They don't know how to enjoy the area. Get out of town. If you're going to live out in a rural community like this, you really got to know how to enjoy the area. You got to have the toys. It does cost money. You got to have the toys like a boat, 4-wheeler. You got to have a bike and truck. You have the fishing gear. You got to have the hunting gear. You got to have like the drive to like try and have fun, try and enjoy it. And you really do have to enjoy the outdoors. But there's plenty to do year round. If you're not having fun out here, it's your own fault. I mean, wintertime, we have pretty exceptional snow machining around here. And plenty of job opportunity too. Also, there's a lot of places that are hiring out here in Dillingham right now, but there's just not a lot of people wanting to work. They just, for some reason, there's just not a lot of people wanting to make money and wanting to go work, which is pretty sad. Me and my brother started working for the city this winter, so I've been the heavy duty equipment mechanic for since November, and then he's just been in buildings and grounds, basically like helper, just helping the big shots there, helping build walls and renovate bathrooms and whatnot around the city. But we take pride in doing good work there. We ain't getting paid the best, we ain't getting paid a lot, but it's really good experience, keeps you busy, you're making money. So I mean, the experience in itself just, is enough, basically. I've got to work on a lot of good stuff, figure out, use my head a lot this winter to try and figure out problems and solutions. And that's always fun. And it's summertime, it's summertime, go out and enjoy it. Get a boat, grab a boat, get a dog, get a bike. I don't know,
Yeah, I think it's important to get some sort of training so that you can get good jobs. If you're trying to make I know there's some people here in Ketchikan who complain about housing, and housing is really expensive and groceries are really expensive. Not as bad as up there, obviously. But, having a career that pays you enough to be able to, afford life and afford these toys is super, super important because, I mean, if you just want to stay inside and hang out, then why live in rural Alaska? Like move somewhere down south where it's cheaper if you're not going to be outside. So you get some training and then move home and make the best of the opportunity.
And exactly, you got to want it living out here. You got to be able to, you got to be willing to put in the work to live out here and enjoy it and have fun and, actually be successful living out here. But and that's also where the Guide Academy comes in, why it's kind of so important for these young adults and kids, to at least go and experience it, is because you're getting your toes wet in an industry that normally isn't, that doesn't have a lot of locals in it.
Right.
And it is something that's really enjoyable. I mean, guiding has been, I'd say, probably my favorite job. I had a job working with FRI at a UW before I guided, and that was right up my alley too. It was just helping out. I was just an intern. I was just helping out the scientists and students with their whatever scientific project they had going on at the time, and kind of just being a camp hand. So that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that so much, and that's on par with guiding, because it was just outdoors. It was the same thing. It was learning, being outside, working with wildlife, working with cool people, learning a lot. But guiding has definitely been top 2 favorite job I've ever had.
Where's somewhere that you want to fish? If you could go anywhere and you could fish, where would it be?
Oh man, really recently I've been really I've been watching a lot of saltwater fishing videos, like tropical fishing, like the bone fishing. I really like bone fishing. Really intrigues me because you got to be precise. You got to be able to cast far. You got to be able to put it right where you want it. You got to be able to, and it's in a beautiful spot. So that really gets my gears going. But like, I don't know, just anything. I think my number 1 bucket list location, it would definitely be the Baja. I've thought about it a little bit, and I definitely want to go hit roosterfish off the beach down there on the Baja. That is just looks amazing. And roosterfish got that big fin and they're beautiful fish, but definitely that. But I want to hit some more so beginner type of sea fishing before I just go and get skunked down there,
Yeah.
Probably like the Bahamas or like Hawaii or something for bonefish and whatnot is definitely on my radar. But I want to do it all, I want to go everywhere and catch everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the bonefish would be so much fun. They're such a beautiful fish. And then, like you said, the climate, the area that you'd be in, it'd just be super awesome to be outside and have it warm and not be so freezing cold after a day of standing in the water.
Different, but what's crazy though, what I really want to do is I want to catch a king on a fly rod. I've never caught a king on a fly rod. Even though I live right here in, the king capital of the world, I've never caught a king on a fly rod just because we're always subsistence fishing for them. When they first start coming in, and we got a lot of mud water down here. We're pretty muddy down low in the river system. So you have to kind of travel pretty far to try and be able to target them with a fly rod. It's just something I've never done, but I really do want to catch a king.
Mm-hmm. Well, in closing up here, what would you say about, I don't know, either closing thoughts about the Guide Academy or about preventing Pebble Mine, or how do you want to close?
I just say go check out SaveBristolBay.org. They have a lot of good articles and information on like what Trout Unlimited is doing, their legal team to fight Pebble Mine, because they're that ones actually fighting Pebble Mine, legally and whatnot, and they're doing a lot of legwork there, and you can check out the Bristol Bay Guide Academy online too. Just Google it, you can kind of read about it and see some pictures, but other than that, I mean, I don't know, just enjoy fishing,
Cool.
Try to enjoy life.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you being on here.
Yeah, I appreciate you too, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. See ya.
Later.
Recording stopped.